YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Another step closer towards NFL free agency. And leading up to that, teams are already starting to make some big-time roster moves, looking at cuts, restructures. Today, I'm kind of going to go over my off-season guide / cheat sheet that you guys will have access to. So I'm going to break it down. Pretty much any prediction that I have or possibility for cuts, and what kind of space that can save, what the projected cap space for each team will look like, and then potential trades and how that would affect the cap going into this offseason. Should be a wild offseason just because the cap change and a lot of guys will be cut or traded, as we know. A lot more names coming up in terms of trade candidates. So I'm going to break it down real quick for you guys. Follow our Twitter for constant updates on these things as it happens. Subscribe, full NFL offseason content. Already on the channel, a lot more to come. A lot of good things planned here. Check out that Sided app, too. Link in the description and comments. You can win Amazon gift cards by talking football. So, no graphics for this video. Just it would take forever to make graphics for this one. But as you can see, we're going to go through all of this, and I'll pin a link in the comments to this. It's free for everyone. It's on our Patreon page, but it's free for anybody that clicks that link. You can view it. And there's some notes here at the top. This is constantly updated, though. So I update this every time something happens here. So the live projected cap. And so as you can see, starting at the top of a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have, I'm projecting $181 million team salary cap, not $181. So something that we already have to edit there. $181 million team salary cap. Could be a little higher. That's what I'm projecting based on what I've heard. So this would be the cap space available for each team based on that. And then once we actually know the team's salary cap, we'll edit these things. So Jaguars are sitting pretty, 75.62. In my opinion, that's what they'll have roughly. And the bullet points are things I think are going to happen. So you see at the top here, I think Rashawn Melvin and a guy like Al Woods, they should be cut. It's a projected cut of mine. You don't save a whole bunch of money, but you clear some space. They got a whole bunch of draft picks. They're going to bring in some young guys. Eifert's an interesting one. He started to pick it up at the end of the year. Do they want a veteran guy that has injury concern, though, when they're trying to grow the young team? They could. They don't really need to save the money, so that's why the question mark is a possible cut. You can see up here. But then we got the bullet point with the T is projected trade. T is a possible trade. So hopefully that's not confusing. That was the best way to do it for me. So then you see the Jets, pretty good cap space number as well. Henry Anderson could save a pretty good amount of cap, 8.2. So if the Jets really want to go hard this offseason, possibility. They actually became more of a, shouldn't be that surprising, more of a appealing landing spot, especially for veteran defenders, in my opinion. Crowder, they still like Crowder. Do they want to create more of a hole at receiver? Probably not. That's why it's kind of a possible cut for me. But $10.4 million is pretty good amount of money there. And then you see the bullet point and the T. I expect them to trade. Sam Darnold trading him would clear $4.77 million. So if these things happen for any of these teams, you go ahead and add on to the cap space this number down here. But I come in and I update this anyways, as things happen, like right away. It's the first thing I do. The Patriots, and they'll cut some small cap space guys, Adrian Phillips and Akeem Spence. They have 64.67 I'm projecting, so they're sitting pretty good as well. Bengals have some options. It's kind of on the fence about Geno Atkins being a possible cut. I think they do it. That would make the most sense because they didn't really play him a whole bunch last year. But why didn't they trade him at the deadline? But $9.5 million to get a little more here, bring back guys like William Jackson, Mackenzie Alexander, Carl Lawson, and then go make big moves to make the roster better. You'll get an offensive line. So, cutting these guys would make some sense to me. Possible cut there. Washington, you got to make the business decision and cut Alex Smith, $13.6 million. You got to do it. So they're sitting at $40 million. After that expected cut that I think will happen, obviously it bumps up to around $53.6 million. So Washington could look pretty good. They're going to want to bring back Brandon Scherf, and then make some big moves in the offseason, maybe trade for a quarterback or sign one. Broncos, a couple guys here for a small amount of money. They got a lot of key guys to re-sign. Jarrell Casey, they traded for last year. Really good player if he's healthy. I think they still want to give him a shot, healthy, see how he is in this defense. They could lose a guy like Shelby Harris, but $11.9 million. Pretty big number, so that could help in not only getting back their free agents, whether it's Justin Simmons, A.J. Johnson, Von Miller as an option, Shelby Harris, guys like that. but then also get better. We don't want to just stay the same. We want to get better. So maybe clearing that. But you're pretty damn, Casey's a pretty damn good player if he's healthy. The Dolphins, not too many options there to save big money. They're all right though, 31.63. The Ravens, they don't have any major cuts that I'm projecting, but you see the bullet point with the T. It means I expect them to trade Orlando Brown. They would only save $920K by trading him, so it wouldn't really clear anything. But you could get some solid picks back. So it sounds like he wants to be a left tackle. Of course, they have Ronnie Stanley. And we have a video on Orlando Brown landing spots and my predictions on that. So you can actually see all my predictions on the channel and more to come on that. Brandon Williams, I don't think they cut, but it's a possibility. That's why the question mark's there, $7.5 million. Maybe if they want to go for a guy, like J.J. Watt, even though they're different, they're both in the D-line but different positions. So then you need a nose tackle. Can somebody step up? Brandon Williams didn't play a whole lot of snaps last year. It's probably because he's aging, so maybe they cut him and save that 7.5. Because they need to bring back some outside linebackers, edge rushers in their scheme. Ngakoue, McPhee, Bowser. Going to let Judon walk. I think they would really like Ngakoue and Bowser back. So they might want to create some more cap space so they just don't stay the same. So they can add a center, add a right tackle if Orlando Brown is traded. Receivers, of course. So some of that could be done in the draft, of course, especially if they get a pick for Orlando Brown. But, $25 million is pretty solid. Got to re-sign some guys. Not too many ways to create a whole bunch of cap. Cowboys, people were kind of predicting the Cowboys to make a whole bunch of moves, but their big move is going to be Dak Prescott. He's going to be a 37.7 if he's franchise tagged. So that kind of brings you in the negative there. The good thing about signing him long-term, maybe you can backload that more, but, you might end up with the franchise tag. We're going to do a franchise tag predictions video, in the next couple of days here. It should be up on the channel. So some small cuts they can make, some defensive backs, to clear that extra space so they can do more than just get Dak back. A couple minor cuts for the 49ers. For a pretty close to complete team, $16.76 million is pretty solid. Garoppolo, could get traded at the end of the day. I don't think he will. They can cut him and save that money. And that's why I put the question mark there without the T, and I, added trade question mark because the trade might be unlikely because cutting him will be the same result in terms of saving that $23.6 million, which is a lot. That's fantastic if they do cut him, but they need a quarterback first. He has a no trade clause as well, so he might just decline to be traded somewhere. And teams might not value trading for Jimmy Garoppolo, so could be cut, could be traded. I'm not predicting either to happen, though, as you can tell. if you read the key at the top correctly. Cardinals, 15.52. They got some free agents to re-sign. Robert Elford, $7.5 million. Pretty good. Devon Kennard was a little underwhelming last season, 4 points. So they can clear. That's pretty good. They don't have a list of guys they can cut to clear some space, but that's pretty good right there. A good amount of money to clear, so that'll be ideal. I'm expecting both those to happen so that you add those numbers, put it on top of 15.52. You got a good amount more cap space then. So what is that? It's more than 25 for sure. 26, 27 around there, top of my head. So that that looks pretty good. They got to re-sign, maybe franchise tag Reddick, and then some other guys they maybe want to bring back. Panthers, 13.86. Quan Shorts played like 5 games in the last 2 years. He's a good player, but $9.82 million. I expect that to happen. They could cut Weatherly, 5.9. Bridgewater, cut, trade. Some guys, like Jimmy Garoppolo. If you cut or trade, you save the same amount of money. Teddy Bridgewater's a little different. You cut him, it's only 2.95. You trade him, it's 12.95. I don't really think either happen. If they get a quarterback, it's very possible. So I will say it's possible. Texans, Duke Johnson. I don't think they cut David Johnson. They're not going to keep 2 running backs with the big price tag, $5.02 million. They're going to cut Duke Johnson. So, and this was edited. The second J.J. Watt got released. See, no bullet point, so I didn't predict this, but I put it in here to update everyone. So this is, so far the cuts, I predicted every single one except for the J.J. Watt one. I predicted him to get, I thought I was going to predict him to get traded. You saw him in a trade candidate video of mine weeks and weeks, maybe a month ago. But I did not predict him to get released. So released, and that cleared 17.5, and that we updated this, obviously. This means he's been released, and we updated that number the second he got released. So that bumped up to $7 million. So the Texans, that's kind of the good news. It's a little bit of a letdown. They didn't get anything for J.J. Watt, but the good news is they're not negative anymore. They're $7 million positive projected. That could change a little bit. We'll keep you updated on that. Giants could cut Nate Solder. He opted out last year. Only $6 million, though. A lot of dead cap with that. That's the tough part. Could save $2.95 here. Golden Tate could be cut, $8.5 million. I don't think anybody's going to trade for Golden Tate. I guess it's possible, I suppose. Sitting at $4 million. Yeah, they definitely want to raise that price a little bit. They want to get Leonard Williams back. Might be pretty pricey. And they want to be able to do other things as well, of course. The Bills, a lot of question mark guys here. I got $0 million right now. So that sounds funny. So they're right in the middle there. Lee Smith will clear a little bit. Just some rotation guys, 3.4. Mario Addison, 8.2. It's a maybe. John Brown's a maybe. Pretty important to them, but I can save a pretty good amount. Jerry Hughes was very good in terms of getting pressure last year. Needs to turn some of those into sacks. He is aging. So that's a tough business decision there. Vernon Butler, 6.81. These are possibilities. I don't know. They might not do any of those question mark ones. I think they're possibilities. Titans are negative 2.6, but I think they'll cut Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler actually started to play pretty decent at the end of last year, like pretty solid. He's a starting corner, but $10.2 million out there. If there's that much of a cap hit out there or ability to save on a corner, he better be great. He better be great. So I think they cut him. Humphreys is a possibility. That would be after June 1st, $7.3 million. Vaccaro, $5.4 million possibly. Vaccaro was pretty damn good. Not this past year, the year before, but he was a little bit of a letdown this year. Do they want to let Amani Hooker step up in that spot? Humphreys is a question too. I mean, that's a lot of money for him. He's not really producing that much. So I almost had a bullet point, meaning I'm projecting it for Humphreys, but they might lose Corey Davis. So do you really want to get thin at receiver? They could probably pick somebody else up if they cut Humphreys. They can possibly re-sign Corey Davis, perhaps. So we'll see. Negative 2.6 obviously isn't good, but one move can clear that pretty well. Raiders got a lot of moves. We did predict a Tyrell Williams, and we updated the cap space for that because he was released. That saved $11.6 million. So they were pretty far in the negative $2.6 million. I expect Joyner's been underwhelming. You could save $8.7 million for a defensive back that's not that valuable. You go ahead and do it. Incognito is back and forth. This is the question mark. Is it a possibility? Do I think it's going to happen? He's up there in age. He hasn't played full. He's not playing every game, every season. They got guys that can step up in those positions. Incognito, sure, he's probably really good still, but I don't know. 5.47 Rashard, 3.5 Heath, 3. That's a pretty good number for those guys that you really just don't need. So they got a lot of ways to clear space. Trent Brown could be released, could be traded, heard a little bit of both. I don't think either happened. They probably give him one more go at right tackle because they're much better with him. He's just been hurt a lot, but he's a very good right tackle. But that could save $14 million. But you're cutting all of these guys, and they're going to trade to see this bullet point in a T. They're going to trade Mariota, I'm pretty sure, on 10.72. So releasing all these guys, they already got started on that, and then going with Mariota, they don't really need to get rid of a Trent Brown guy. It's been rumored. I don't think it happens, obviously. No bullet point there. But if they do trade Derek Carr, they save 19.62. At one point, I was kind of feeling they might trade Derek Carr. Now I'm not really thinking they're going to do it. The Bears been interested in him. The Bears, negative 4.5. In my projections, Bobby Massey, $6.7 million. He's been injured. They could look to upgrade at right tackle, bring back Affetti. Buster Skrine, I think Duke Shelley showed that he can play in that slot position, so cut Buster Skrine for 2.73. Jimmy Graham, they set up that contract to pretty much cut him this offseason, but he played pretty well. I was pretty impressed with him. And that's tough, though. I'm back and forth on if they'll actually do it because $7 million is a lot, but he played pretty well. They have Cole Kmet. Do they like the duo together? They like Kmet to step up, and they don't really need Jimmy Graham then. How are they feeling on that? So they need to clear some space because they want to make big moves. Nagy and Pace on thin ice. They want to be able to compete this year. So I'm back and forth. That actually might happen. $7 million And Nick Foles, some rumors have come up that he'll be traded, part of a trade. I don't think it'll actually happen. They only save $1.33 million by trading him. If they cut him, they lose money. So they like $3.33 million, somewhere around there. So they won't cut him. If just not I'm predicting, but if just to watch out for. If they do trade him, they save a little bit of money there. But yeah, Jimmy Graham. They could drop him, but he was pretty impressive, I thought, last year. Lions, Desmond Trufant, they got a pair of young corners. They might go that route. They're kind of in that rebuild spot. They're negative 4.9, so one move to get them to positive. Desmond Trufant, 6.18. Nick Williams, Danny Shelton, they probably cut one of these guys. 4.7 Nick Williams, $4 million for Danny Shelton. Kind of up in the air. The D-line needs work. Do they want to just completely kill the defensive line by getting rid of these guys, though? So it's a little bit of a question. They don't save a whole bunch of money. But they do need to clear more space because they want to maybe tag or sign Kenny Golladay. So they're probably going to have to cut at least one of those guys. Vikings are a negative 9.1, but they actually got ways I think they'll clear some space here. And they're known for restructuring a lot. So, and keep that in mind. I don't have restructures on here. That there's teams, we'll get to the Packers. The Packers did one yesterday, actually. Talk about that. Reef, they'll probably cut him. $13.75 million. It's pretty good. Kyle Rudolph, it's going to be weird to see him away from the Vikings, but I think they'll move on from him. They got Irv Smith and Conklin actually looked pretty good last year. 5.1 for Rudy Schmar-Steffens, declining, it feels like, 3.75. Anthony Barr's name has come up a little bit. Some people say cut. I don't think they outright cut him. I think we're looking at most likely a restructure on Anthony Barr, but not a pay cut. I don't think he'll take a pay cut because he declined the Jets' offer to take less from the Vikings, so I don't think he would take a pay cut. They could trade him. That would save 7.26. Not really thinking it happens, so I'm thinking more of a restructure. So they have negative 9, but it looks like they have some ways to clear space. Steelers got some ways too. Marquise Pouncey, I originally had a question mark that they might let him go because he might. I was thinking at the time he might go one last rodeo here with Big Ben. The Steelers might be okay with that, so they might not cut him. But they end up retiring then. So we plugged that in there, retired. They saved $8 million, and we added that. I guess subtracted from how high they're going to be adding. So they're in a little better situation. So that's their live cap space projection after the Marquise Pouncey. It'd be tough to see them cut Joe Hayden. I think they need to. That team wins off their front seven and Minkah Fitzpatrick. But the pressure of the front seven creates for the defensive backs. Therefore, you would like to have the best defensive backs possibly, but therefore you don't have to spend big money on defensive backs. And if you are holding on to that 12.6 potential saving, that corner better be damn good. And Joe Hayden was damn good, not too much anymore. So, I think it'd be a fail if they don't move on from him, to be honest. Steven Nelson's a possibility. If they just insist on keeping Hayden, they could cut Steven Nelson. Nelson got more upside, played pretty well 2 years ago, not as well last year, but 8.25. It's kind of a lot of money there, too. Like, if a guy has that much a cap hit sitting there where you can save, like, he better be pretty damn good, in my opinion. Corner in that defense where it's not as valuable because the front seven's winning. It's making those guys' jobs a lot easier. I don't know. Ebron, they used him quite a bit, even though he was a letdown at times. He's electrifying tight end at times. Vance McDonald retired, so they could keep Ebron, $6 million. Vince Williams, I'm probably leaning towards they keep. They could cut him and just re-sign Spillane, $4 million. They probably keep Vince Williams. Packers, I don't have one that I'm really predicting. I'm kind of borderline with Christian Kirksey because when he was in there, the run defense was better. Like, he's a solid linebacker, has injury concern. They have a couple of young guys that could just want to get better there in general. So that would save 5.6. It could happen. It's a very strong possibility. Wagner, they might want to keep him. But 4.25. Dean Lowry only saves 3.3. Josh Jackson hasn't worked out for them, 1.33. Preston Smith could be traded. Tough to say if it actually will be, but if they trade him, they save $8 million. They may want Rashawn Gary just stepping up full time, opposite of Zadarius Smith. But they'll put Smith, Gary, and Smith on the field all at the same time because Smith can kind of rush inside. So maybe they want to keep him. But he had a little underwhelming season. Could be a trade candidate there. So that cap space projected is updated because they restructured David Bakhtiari's contract yesterday. Follow us on Twitter. I broke that down with the exact numbers, how it works right when it happens. It's a good reason to follow Twitter. They took the roster bonus and they pulled it down pretty far, and they took that money that they owe him and spread it out through the remaining years of his contract. So that's a really good thing about having a guy like Bakhtiari that has several years left on his contract. You can take that roster bonus and restructure it basically. The old-fashioned way is dropping the base salary down, but you have a more creative way to do that if with the roster bonus. So I updated that. They're up to negative 17.5, so they still have a little bit of ways to go here, as you can see. They may continue to restructure like that. They could move on for some of these guys. Chiefs, negative 21.9, obviously not ideal. They can cut Henny, won't save a whole bunch. Hitchens, solid starter for them, though, 6.4, but is a guy like Willie Gay going to step up, take a spot maybe? Who knows? Falcons, pretty far down there, negative 27.2. A couple guys I expect to get cut. That's a pretty decent amount of money there. James Carpenter's a possibility, $4 million. Eagles, really far down, negative 45.5, bad situation. Goodwin's going to get cut, 4.5. Deshaun Jackson's going to get cut, 8.7. Alshon, they're going to have to wait till after June 1st if they cut him. In the meantime, it will be negative. Same with Malik Jackson, both weird contracts. Both would be negative, but the good news is if you cut them a certain point, $14 million, $10 million. So they can save a lot of money. They're just pretty far negative. They can restructure some more deals. They have already done that quite a bit. I expect these guys to get traded, as you can tell right here. Not sure why there's a big space in between those, but Carson Wentz trading him wouldn't save much at all, as you can see there. But I expect him to get traded. Zach Ertz as well, $4.7 million. I think both those guys could be packaged in the same deal, perhaps. Depends on where they go. If it's like Chicago, I don't know if Ertz goes with the Chicago. If it's the Colts, I can see both going. Saints, negative 68.83 is what I got right now. That was after. That was because they were pretty far down there. They restructured Drew Brees. We talked about that on Twitter a while ago. And then they released Nick Easton, which we predicted the other day was expected. A big reason they drafted Cesar Ruiz. 5.87. They cleared from that, so then we adjusted that and ended up, getting to negative 68.83. Quan Alexander was a rental, 13.2. Maybe they restructure, probably not. Injury concerns. We'll see. Patrick Robinson, they don't really need him anymore, 2.6. Sanders, kind of a question mark. $6 million isn't a whole bunch, so would you rather keep him? Janoris Jenkins, $10 million is a good amount there. It's a good amount for a team that needs money. We're at the point where they're probably not going to get back to zero or in the positive. So cutting Janoris Jenkins will create. He's been playing pretty solid actually. Cutting him will create a big outside corner need, and then you won't be able to really re-sign a new outside. Your league won't approve that new signing if you're negative, but they'll approve it if the guy's already on the team. So that's probably why they won't cut Janoris Jenkins. We'll see though. Josh Hill, 2.54. And then if you're wondering, these teams I don't really have a major cut for those teams. They'll cut some guys that are $920K and down. No big trade options or anything for me that I think that happen. But we're constantly updating this. All of a sudden I'll add a prediction. I'll add maybe this guy will get cut. So that could happen. I had the Ravens down here originally. I moved them up there, obviously. But the Colts have a lot of money, 74.50, pretty good spot. Chargers, $30 million, pretty solid. You're going to have to re-sign Hunter Henry. Buccaneers, given a team that just won a Super Bowl in an era where in an offseason where a lot of teams are in cap space hell because the cap space is going down. $26 million for a Super Bowl winning team is pretty damn impressive. But they do have to, Godwin, probably franchise tag. Again, my franchise tag predictions in a video coming early this upcoming week. Shaq Barrett, Levante David, maybe Ndamukong Suh, guys like that. So that money will be pretty much gone. But that's okay, though. Browns, 25.67. Pretty good for the Browns. Seahawks, 10.50. Seahawks got a lot of work to do, actually, given that we know that they're a contender still. They got some work to do, so wish they had some guys to cut. But at least they're positive, and the Rams are not even close to positive, negative 29.2. I'm kind of smelling some restructure, so I think I talked about it on Twitter a week or two ago. Aaron Donald, not pay cuts. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey possibly could restructure, push some money back. Just reminding people of the key down here, like how everything works down there. So, we're going to see a lot more restructures. The restructures I break down on Twitter when they happen, exactly how they go down, and I come in here and I update the live cast space when it happens. And I'm constantly adding, if I'll have another prediction or a possibility, I'll throw it up here. This is just constantly being updated. This is free for everyone to take a look at. It's definitely something you want to keep handy. I view it as kind of a cheat sheet. Something you want to keep handy for this offseason. But we'll have more videos with predictions, Like I said, with our normal graphics, this would have just taken forever if I put all this in the graphics guy put all this in graphics form. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. A lot of work goes in this, constant updates. So check that out. Link in description, comments for that, as well as other things like our Twitter. Please follow that Twitter. You're missing out if you're not following that Twitter, I promise you. But yeah, a lot of content on the way for free agency and the NFL draft. Cannot wait for it all to start. We grade every single free agency signing. Excited about that. That's going to do it, though. Please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.